Like we got Reyes and Prohaska coming up. Like that's gonna be a sick fight.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, but
All right, I'm
it's
gonna pull
fun.
the notes up.
Cool.
Trying to get hyped for this thing again. Damn it. All right. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Nuts and Bolts MMA. I am your host, Travis Montgomery. We have UFC 261 to recap tonight and a couple bits of news. 261 was insane. But first, please go to Facebook and Twitter, Nuts and Bolts MMA. You can find us there. We're on Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe there. Tell a friend. I myself, I'm doing pretty good. I just got a couple monkeys off my back here in Bakersfield. I hopped in the ocean earlier this weekend, and that was pretty awesome. I call it ocean therapy. I'm joined by Mitch, and I just have to say, apologies to Jesse on Fire. If you're listening to this, I didn't push record on the time that we recorded our episode 10. So episode 10 is with me and Mitch now because I'm an idiot, and I just kind of had to laugh at myself because how disappointed I was. But we'll definitely do it again. So I am joined by Mitch. I put out the bat signal and he just was answered it. And this card was so exciting. We had to get something going because I just wanted to get something out. And Mitch, how are you doing? Anything going on with you in your personal life?
Yeah, no, I'm doing good. The card was great, so definitely I'm always eager and happy to talk about it. Sorry to hear about the mishap. That's always annoying. You work hard on some of the stuff, and sometimes little mistakes like that can cost. But nothing new too much, but just real excited to talk about this card. It was an awesome one.
Cool. Yeah, it's little technical difficulties. Mitch from Real Quick Picks YouTube channel. He's got some big things coming up. He's got new subscribers. Let's let's all go check out his videos too. Okay, for our first little bit of news that we've got going on that just can't wait. Marvin Vettori versus Israel Adesanya 2 is set for UFC 263, June 12th. The venue is to be determined. They are glancing over Robert Whitaker here for, I don't know. I have an opinion on this, but what do you think about it, Mitch? What happened to Robert Whitaker?
I'm not too sure what happened. It looks like, according to him, the UFC did offer him the fight. He felt like it was kind of an impossible time frame, given everything. Honestly, I would like to see Robert Whitaker fight for the belt, but I think the UFC and everyone kind of knows that Robert Whitaker is only going to fight so much in the politicking world, and the ball's going to roll, and he's going to be okay with it. He's already said he hopes they just beat the crap out of each other. He's accepted that it's going to happen. I would much rather see Israel Adesanya wait, honestly, and then fight Robert. But I understand that it's his choice, and if he wants to be active, Marvin Vettori's ready. June 12th.
Yeah, the UFC seems pretty adamant about having Israel Adesanya fight again soon. I actually have a quote here from ESPN, a quote from Robert Whitaker. More or less, I was offered the fight about an hour after my fight with Gastelum. There was just no way physically I could do that. Not only do I have injuries from that last fight to deal with, I have to fly home to Australia and then 2 weeks in mandatory quarantine. I have to see how my body was feeling, and then I'd have to prepare. All by June, it was impossible. So yeah, a lot of people that don't know, when you fly over to Australia or New Zealand or something like that, their quarantine rules are very strict. So he would have to do, some kind of crazy quarantine like that, and then, figure out how, if he's injured. So my big thing is that the UFC wanted to just move it along anyways, even though I think Robert Whitaker is the more deserving of it. Although Israel has kind of laid waste to everyone at middleweight, pretty much, except for Marvin Vittori in that first fight. So I guess from you can it kind of makes sense, but I think Robert Whitaker is a little bit more deserving.
Yeah, it's a weird thing where definitely when you look at the matchups, it's almost like Rob fared the worst against um, Israel Adesanya, and that's kind of where you kind of compare them to. That's the standard you compare them to is Izzy, and he's fought him all, so you can kind of look at that. But then at the same time, when you look at everyone's fights outside of Izzy, Rob's on a tear and the clear number one contender. So it's kind of funky over there at middleweight the way they're all, so the top of that division is just so matched up. And I mean, there's a lot of fights you could make, but Marvin Izzy, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and not saying that Marvin's not deserving of it either. I mean, he's been doing a great job lately.
Yeah, he has. Um, his last win against Kevin Holland, I just feel like Rob's last three wins are more of what you would think of as like title contention matches than the Kevin Holland match. I feel like if Rob lost any of them, they would have pushed that guy into the belt next, actually. Cannonier, Till, Kelvin. But
Yeah,
it
very
is what
good,
it is. I kind
very
of
good
see
memory,
Izzy
sir.
going into
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm passionate for the Rob title fight. I want to see it again. I feel like sometimes the fans and I want to see it more than Rob does, which is why it kind of makes it easy to deal with him not getting it. It's like, well, if he seems all right with just being the gatekeeper, so to speak, then let's just watch it happen. I kind of see Izzy walking through Marvin for this one. I don't see it being more competitive, but maybe I'm sleeping on Marvin Vittori just because of the lack of competition he's had, but that's not his fault. He fights who they pair him up with.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to think about this one more, but I think it's going to be competitive. I think John Blockowitz kind of set a blueprint on how to beat Izzy, and a blueprint that Marvin might be able to follow pretty pretty well. So we'll see. He's not as big and as strong as John, obviously, but he's kind of a meathead, and he's got that grinding style. It's going to be interesting to see. He's also not that bad on his feet either. So
Yep. And he'll move forward, try to pressure him. It'll be a fun one.
yes, not as fun as the Twitter beef between Jake Paul and and Daniel Cormier. I guess Jake Paul in the whole world at this time. And I I don't really want to like keep talking about Jake Paul unless there's something there. I don't want to bring him up for the sake of bringing him up, but this dude now is showing up at UFC events, poking the bear. It's kind of like you kind of gotta have to talk about him now. It turned into a story. Now you could find a video up that I just posted on the social medias of DC actually saying today in an interview that he would fight Jake Paul in MMA at 205. He would drop all the way down. There's a video on the social medias, but I don't know, Mitch. What do you make of all this? You like it or not?
It's interesting. I feel like after the Jake Paul fight, the Triller event, we saw a lot of like, I wish Jake Paul would fight a real boxer, or I wish Jake Paul would fight, and then it was like insert MMA stud here, you know. So I guess if that's some of what the fans want, I mean, they're kind of getting that in a sense. If you want to see Jake Paul potentially get beat up, I feel like Jake Paul's working towards it, especially messing with someone like DC. Um, One thing that I just found interesting, I don't know who all watches Chael Sonnen's videos on YouTube, but one thing he mentioned around, it was either right before or after the Jake Paul versus Ben Askren fight, was that he felt like the nerd versus the Olympian just worked. The nerd being Jake Paul, the Olympian being Ben Askren, and here we are with another Olympian. I wonder, I wonder how far this one goes. Not who I expected to be the next target for Jake Paul, but um, I've got to respect Triller and his management. I feel like they know what they're doing and they're talking about DC. I wouldn't be surprised if this somehow comes to fruition. I'm not sure about the MMA talks though with DC trying to call shots in that direction, but it seems like DC is more concerned about just beating him up, which I'm fine with too.
Yeah, I hope they don't see each other outside of a cage or something, because that would be lost. Um, you know,
Yeah. I think for an interesting PR move, if Jake Paul were to call out someone who was primarily a striker to a grappling match, I feel like that could be interesting. If he's like beating MMA fighters and what they were not good at, like Ben Askren with the striking. But that's just some weird stuff. It's just interesting. As sad as it is, I wasn't really talking about boxing before this. But I would rather just talk about MMA without Jake Paul. But if he's around, you kind of have to.
yeah. Why don't I play you the audio
Okay.
in case you missed it?
Talking about signing a contract. What contract are you referring to? This sign a contract. What is that? Sign a contract. What are you talking about? Sign a contract. There is no contract. Like, I mean, I told you last week, you don't punch down to go do all that, but like, come on, dude. You can talk and act like that with certain people. Not everybody. Not everybody's gonna do that. And you start messing with like certain people, they're gonna kind of tell you about what they're feeling.
So let me ask you bluntly, do you want to fight Jake Paul?
I don't want to fight Jake Paul, but I'm not going to let Jake Paul disrespect me. But I'll tell you one thing. Let me tell you one thing about Jake Paul. And I'll refer back to the Conor McGregor deal, right? Conor went to fight Floyd, made a ton of money because he had to. Floyd Mayweather is the greatest boxer of all time. So you go and play on his playing field. Why would I go and box Jake Paul? Who I am doesn't make me chase anything. I made my money as the heavyweight champion of the world. I don't have to chase a payday. This kid wants to fight. Okay, I'll fight him. But it'll be a mixed martial arts competition. If he wants to actually fight with me, fight me in mixed martial arts, and then I'll fight him all the way down at 205. I'm living happy. I'm fat. I'm healthy. I'll go all the way down to 205 to fight this kid in mixed martial arts. If you really
Boom. There it is. And now, if Jake Paul does not answer that call, he's a little bitch. In my eyes. So,
Yep, I agree. But if he does answer the call and somehow that's actually what brings DC back to UFC and at 205, then I guess thank you, Jake Paul. But that
yeah,
that would be
I'm here
that would
for
be
it.
interesting to see.
I'm here for it. So, anyways, yeah, Jake Paul tweeted in quotations, "When I see you, I'm going to put my hands on you," or something like that. And he pretty much took a shot at DC. So there's your Twitter beef corner, that's pretty fun. I don't DC versus Jake Paul. I'm here for that.
That's pretty fun. I don't see any world where DC doesn't just hurt Jake Paul severely.
Yeah, and MMA will get its redemption after Ben Askren's pitiful showing.
Yep.
Jesus Christ. Okay,
Ben
well,
askew.
so now let's get to the exciting part. Holy crap. UFC 261 took place last Saturday. First time we had some fans. There was a crazy buzz in the whole event just had this energy to it. There was 15,000 in attendance. The gate was 3.3 million. Dana White was super duper happy about that. There were broken legs. There were one-arm chokes. There were knockouts. I mean, this event was just crazy from start to finish. Even the first fight that had these I think they were strawweight females on there. They didn't look like much, but they came out. I think within the first second, they're just throwing blows and people are falling and scrambling around. Just as a whole buzz on what was your feeling on this whole buzz of the event, Mitch?
Yeah, no, you're right. Right off the bat, it started off, I believe it was Na Liang and Ariane. I think her name was like Carnelesi. That was a crazy fight right away. They're starting to kill each other, or trying to kill each other rather. It was an exciting card, one of the better ones that you can really remember from recent history. Started great and finished great as well. Three title fights on it.
Yeah, three title fights on there. Let's go to the one at the top. Jorge Masvidal knocks out Kamaru Usman in the second round. What do you think about this one?
This was a crazy fight. I had Kamaru Usman going into it, but not like this, right? I mean, you were kind of right last time we spoke, where these rematches don't necessarily go the same at all, and this was a good example. While it was the same winner, it was still completely different type of fight. Kamaru Usman just starches him with the overhand right, and it's crazy.
Yeah, Jorge was coming in with that left hook that he throws a lot, but it was a little more lazy. And then Kamaru Usman just lands a straight right over it. I think it was, but I don't know. In the first round, Masvidal was doing good. He got taken down, but he got back up, and he said that in an interview today that the energy that he had after he got up was what he felt like he could do that for 5 rounds. And he was even making Kamaru Usman miss pretty big in the first round too, where it looked like Kamaru Usman was overswinging a little bit. But then, going into the second round as a Jorge Masvidal backer, I was feeling pretty good about it, So, but something I don't know if it was gamesmanship by Kamaru in the first round, or if he was really just kind of out of sorts. He didn't, but he came out in that second round. I don't know if it's his corner. He's got one of the best corners in the world. If they told him and he adjusted something, I don't know, but it was pretty impressive the way that he was able to do that. No one does that to Jorge Masvidal,
No, you're correct. No one has done that to Jorge Masvidal. And also about that first round, I remember watching it and seeing that after the first round, I wasn't sure who I thought had won it, to be honest. But yep, going in the second round, something changed. And you're right about Trevor Whitman as well. It was definitely his night. 2 belts in one night. How do you beat that? 2 finishes.
Yeah.
I mean, main event. It doesn't really get, unless he goes and starts coaching Valentina as well. Like that was a crazy finish for him. But
Well, yeah, it's kind of crazy also that, well, 2 things are kind of crazy to me. One is that he left Henry Hoof down there at Sanford MMA to go train with Trevor Whitman because he was fighting Gilbert Burns, his teammate. So he went to Trevor Whitman. They kind of split the camp because they couldn't have the same camp together. And going over to Trevor Whitman seems like it's the best thing that he's ever did. And the other thing that's kind of weird to me is that the irony of this sport, and Chris Weidman, obviously, we talk about that in a minute, but the irony of Jorge Masvidal getting knocked out as brutally as he knocked out Ben Askren and falling kind of similarly, just dead, just absolutely, and then on their side a little bit, they're just a meme now. That picture, that look on his face is like, now he's knocked out Masvidal, and he's going to get memed up. It's just, I think that's kind of ironic.
It's very ironic. The MMA, UFC, it's cruel and it's humbling. I mean, hardly do you see folks only at the top. Who has only been at the top at this point? Habib left, retired. GSP left on a good note. Henry Cejudo left at a good time, although I feel like we'll see him fight again. But these people that seemed invincible not too long ago, I guess we have Amanda Nunes and Valentina, but like Conor McGregor and Izzy, it kind of seemed like, when were these guys going to lose?
Yeah.
Izzy hasn't lost at 185, but I still feel like his loss to Tion was eye-opening for the fans as well. And then now we have this. Jorge Masvidal goes from the king of knockouts to being the most recent victim to one of the most brutal knockouts we've seen in a while.
Yeah, it was, and the sweat flying is probably the most iconic moment of that, because it just, he hit him so hard. He thought Masvidal thought Usman was going for a takedown. He had admitted as much in an interview that he did today. So he thought he got tricked. He said, and he gave a lot of praise to Usman, but he was just built with sweat, and then boom. Sweat goes flying everywhere. Probably 2 rows to the stands. But what's next for Usman is Colby Covington. That's I don't know. That's going to be an interesting one. I mean, Colby Covington's tough as hell.
Yeah, Colby's tough as hell. I see Usman. I mean, I think I saw him mentioning something about how, he's been more active than some of these contenders. And I thought about that, and he's kind of right. He has been more active than some of these contenders. He'd like to see something from someone. Having said that, I feel like the UFC and himself, they're probably hoping for maybe whoever wins out of Nate Diaz or Leon. I could see them trying to push them towards.
Oh
But
my
really,
gosh.
if Thompson can get past Gilbert Burns, I feel like you got to give it to Stephen Thompson. I want to see
Yeah.
Colby and Kamaru, but for some reason, I feel like things are going to get in the way between the UFC and the two fighters. I don't think they're going to be able to get it done.
Dude, I forgot Leon Edwards was fighting Nate Diaz. That's kind of ridiculous. What the hell are
Yep.
you doing, Nate? What are you
I
doing,
don't know.
Nate?
I've thrown that into a lot of parlays though, because if Nate Diaz can beat Leon Edwards at this point in both of their careers, I will be stunned, if I'm being honest. I've thrown Leon Edwards in quite a few parlays, as well as Donald Cerrone,
So
while we're
there.
on that note.
Oh
But
yeah, I
uh,
like Donald Cerrone in his next fight
yeah,
against
Sanchez.
Diego Sanchez.
Yep.
So they're still pending. So you're just waiting to cash them, huh?
Yep. I got a few with them mixed in with parlays.
Nice.
Just mix it around here, there.
At a kid. Well, since we're, I think this would be a good time to talk about the betting. I ended up doing, from what I said on the show, I ended up doing plus 0.3 units, which is better than losing. But I had a hell of an event. I did another payout. I absolutely killed it on my end. I didn't post anything, but let's put it this way: if Jorge Masvidal would have won, I would have had a couple grand, and I didn't put in that much money to start the weekend, and it would have been great, but he didn't, and I ended up with still a good amount of money. But I had parlays leading up into him winning, so I don't know, I cashed some other ones. It was Friday. I did not want to win a couple of them the way I did, but anyways, let's go now to the co-main event of the evening. Thug Rose gets this highlight reel finish head kick over Wiley Zhang. Not much really to say other than I don't know. What's your
Thug
take on
Rose. That's all
Thug
there is to
Rose?
say.
Yeah.
Thug Rose. This was one that I was super anticipating to watch. One of the reasons is one of my more, or actually my most viewed video on YouTube, and also my worst like to dislike ratioed video was a video with me going over the Rose Whaley fight where I was picking Rose. I felt like a lot of people were sleeping on Rose. I saw her winning stand up, but not quite like this. I kind of thought we were going to see more rounds. But there she goes, shocking us again, just like in her versus Joanna 1. At this point, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. What's funny is within her next 3 fights, I can completely seeing her being an underdog again. And I'll be ready to cash in again when it happens. But that was a good fight. I mean, I'm not sure if they run that one right back. What do you think about the division moving forward? There's honestly a lot there, and that's a lot of contenders at 115 coming up.
Well, yeah, actually, you were right. We were both kind of picking Thug Rose. I believe I did. Yeah, I said I was picking her. She wasn't a
did.
bet. I ended up betting her, but I thought it was going to be more of like she was going to win points on the ground with scrambles and stuff like that. And but you were actually the one saying no, dude. She might light her up on the feet a little bit. And then I
Yeah,
was, I thought
she
Zhang
beat
had the
Joanna.
more power, but I don't know. I also wonder how much of that fight with Joanna took out of her too. If that has something to do with it, I don't know. These girls bounce back pretty nicely, but you never know.
Travel too can be a real thing.
Oh
This is
yeah,
Rose's backyard. I mean, that's
true.
all these things can definitely play a part. Like I believe was it in Brazil or China actually where Zhang beat Jessica Andrade? I can't remember. It was one of the two. But anyway, I mean, yeah, they're flying across countries, and I don't forget that necessarily, and I definitely think about that when I'm wagering too.
Yeah,
But yeah,
because the weight cut. When you get, for people that don't know, when you're trying to cut weight and you get an airplane, your whole body chemistry kind of changes and it makes it harder. So you got to get there early or you're still kind of cutting weight, even, no matter how far off you are when you fly, I guess. Most people don't get there that early. So they're kind of in the process of cutting weight while they're flying, which is not good, especially for a 20-hour flight or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, your video went out.
It went out? Oh.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let's see.
Hold on. Might be your internet. Freaking nose is plugged. I can still hear you fine, so we could continue on. Are you still there? Maybe if you need to leave and come back in, that might fix it. Okay, I can hear you again.
All right, one sec. Sorry. Let me get this back on. Okay.
There you go.
Cool. We are back.
Sweet. All right. Well, pick it back up.
Yeah, 115 division, 115-pound division straw weight. Not sure what's next. I feel like a few fighters are one fight away from winning, or they could run it right back. You have Joanna right there in the mix. You hear talks about Mackenzie Dern.
Yeah, I think Dana wants to run it back. I think Daddy Dana says that's what's going to happen. So if that's what he wants, I think that's. Who knows? Rose might do it again. That was the first time they fought, right?
Yep, that was the first time they fought, and I'm fine to see that again. I mean, Rose, how many opponents does she really have? Do we need to see a Joanna 3? We could, but there's other people I'd like to see her matched up with. She's fought Jessica twice, although one was a loss, so maybe that's good for Jessica, where she can get a trilogy conversation going in there. But I think a rematch with Wei Li, or if Mackenzie Dern can get a win, or if Amanda Ribes can get a win here, is it this weekend or next weekend? That's impressive. Something to get the ball rolling.
Mackenzie Dern's one fight away probably. They need some new blood in there too, up at the top.
Yeah.
So they'll probably run that back. I mean, because it's that or Joanna or the other Chinese fighter's name, Yan Xiaonan.
She's fighting Carla, is that correct?
I'm not sure.
I think Carla.
But yeah, I mean the division's fine. It's talent rich. It's I like it. It's probably the best women's division.
I wonder if Valentina will ever try to cut down to 115.
No, she said she never would.
Okay.
Speaking of Valentina, she defeats Jessica Andrade. This was just a one-sided beatdown. It wasn't even close for 2 seconds. She completely dominated her from pillar to post. Mitch, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I don't know what my problem is. It's like I was sleeping on every elite fighter because I saw a decision for the last 3 fights and they were all finishes. And this was another one where I saw Valentina dominating for 3 rounds. And she did one better, finished, I believe it was was it the second round she finished in? And
Second
yeah,
round.
dominated the first round, took Jessica down early, let her know that, what her and maybe the fans and the media were saying was Jessica's best chance. No, there was no chance Valentina Shevchenko was going to win that fight.
Yeah, not when Jessica's on her back.
Yeah.
With Valentina on top of her. Yeah, the first round was kind of like neutral grappling positions almost, where Valentina was passing guard and Jessica was doing pretty good. But then Valentina gets this takedown in the second round, lands in side control, gets her in the crucifix position. And it didn't take long for her to just start elbowing the living shit out of her so fast, too. They were just coming like rapid, like combo, like boom, 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 boom. And yeah, the ref couldn't. It looked pretty brutal. It was up there with the night of violent finishes. Valentina, dude, I don't. In my opinion, she's the best female fighter. I know a lot of people. It's her or Amanda, but I thought Valentina beat Amanda in the second fight. So Valentina's my pick on that one.
That's fair. I know Valentina felt the same way. I honestly have not seen that one recent enough to be able to. I need to give that one a watch.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm
I
curious to see.
remember. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I just need to rewatch it.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt you either. But yeah, Amanda's nose was all busted up at the end. Valentina looked fine. She was, I should watch that one again too. But I felt like Valentina had won, especially because I bet her. All right, so, and not the best moments in MMA history. Uriah Hall versus Chris Weidman. Uriah, Hall blocks the first strike of the fight, which is a low calf kick. Chris Weidman snaps his whole leg pretty much in half, all of the bones. I think there's like 2 or 3 bones right there, and they looked like they were all just mangled. Pretty sad moment, right, Mitch?
Yeah, pretty sad moment. That's just terrible to see to anyone, let alone legend of the sport like Chris Weidman. And you were talking about irony earlier. I mean, there's loads of irony with that one. We all know about the crazy kick with Anderson Silva, and then also leading up to the fight, they were all saying how Chris Weidman was Uriah Hall's first loss in MMA. I'm not sure if Chris Weidman's gonna come back, but if he wasn't, then that would make Uriah Hall Chris Weidman's last loss in MMA, which would be some crazy irony as well. But irony aside, gruesome injury and devastating to see. Thoughts are with Chris Weidman and his family and everyone around him. Hopefully, he recovers up and is all right from that. But that's crazy. That's just, I mean, that the photos look unreal, honestly.
Yeah, I watched it once, and that was enough for me. I saw the replay. I don't need to keep seeing it. I know it'll look that you can't you don't get those images out of your head. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. I agree 100%.
But so here's the thing with Chris Weidman. I think he wants to come back, and Dana would probably let him at this point. But he's had 24 surgeries total in his career. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson was a close training partner with him for both of their fights, in down there in South Carolina, and he was saying they're close buddies. And Chris has told him, yeah, I've had 24 surgeries on his thumb, his knee. I mean, his neck, which are always pretty sketch. Yeah, I wouldn't mind to see Chris Weidman walk away or give him a winnable fight to go off on a note. I mean, the guy's put together with like duct tape and cardboard. It's sad, but supposedly he had a really good training camp and he felt good. He looked like he was in really good shape.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I don't know if you saw the Anthony Smith live reaction, but he had mentioned that he trained with Chris, and he joked about how he would talk about after training with Chris, like I don't know how anyone has ever beaten that guy. He puts in a lot of work, and he was in fight shape, and he was ready to go, and he was just kind of saying that, adding to how sad it was. They train for so long, they spend time away from their family, sacrifice so much, and then for something like that to happen, not only is it a crazy injury, but it kind of took away his ability to compete, Uriah Hall's ability to compete. Um, it was just crazy, crazy, crazy.
Yeah, and Uriah Hall has gotten over some mental hurdles in this sport before. He's even talked about it openly. I even talked about it last week. This is going to be another mental hurdle for him to overcome too.
Yeah, yep, yeah, because he was right there, and yeah, who knows? Who knows?
So all the best to Chris Weidman and his family. He says he's doing good. He's on the mend. They're already giving him a timetable to come back, start training and stuff. So it'd be one crazy hell of a redemption story if he could come back from an injury like that. Anderson Silva was a big deal for him when he got that win over Nick Diaz after he broke his leg, and there's other sports stories like Alex Smith tore the hell out of his knee and then was able to come back. But yeah, it would be something else. And speaking of broken knees, Jimmy Crute gets his leg kicked in by Anthony Smith. He loses a TKO, doctor stoppage at the beginning of the second round. Couldn't really stand on it. He was trying to show like he could still fight, but Anthony Smith looked good. Jimmy Crute didn't look bad. He's going to be around a while for sure. These calf kicks, they're dangerous on both sides,
Isn't that crazy? One fight after another, we see both ends of that, and how crazy it can be.
Yep.
One guy can't walk, and the other guy hurts his leg delivering the kick.
Yeah, and it's going to happen again because Uriah Hall, I think he kind of like pushed his leg down into it in a sense, but Anthony Smith was I think he landed like 7, 8, 9, and his foot and Jimmy Crute's foot was, they call it like dead foot. It's like it's no longer responding.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if that's what happened, but it's like the nerve just shuts off once it gets kicked there if you're not ready for it.
Yeah, and honestly, I've heard a few different people talk about it in similar ways. And I gotta say, I just don't really want to know what it feels like. It sounds awful. It sounds just fight ending, honestly. It almost sounds like more of a sweeter spot than like the temple or the chin. It's crazy. Very dangerous technique. We saw it used against Conor McGregor. We see a lot of success with it. But at any rate, that was a great fight, violent fight, kind of what we expected in terms of action-packed and excitement. And I'd say it was a pretty good stoppage. Jimmy Crute's leg looked beat up. Anthony was just going to beat it up more. But we'll see what's next for both of them.
Yeah, I think Jimmy had his moments too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And he's going to take a lot from this. Next guy's probably not going to come in leg kicking him quite as well.
Yeah, he's got to get some of that defense going. Yeah, you know what? Anthony Smith did good. He busted him up under the right eye too. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's move on to Randy Brown versus Alex Oliveira in a night of crazy finishes. We have a one-armed choke here. Randy Brown looks good. He's really huge for the division. I'm pretty pretty excited to see what he can do next. What do you think about all this?
Yeah, I think he looked large at 170 in there in a way similar to when I think about Israel Adesanya. He looks big at 185, kind of tall, big frame, striking first. But yeah, Randy Brown, I liked going in there. I felt like in the past he had shown getting past adversity that seemed higher than what I thought Oliveira would have been able to output at this point. Although he did leg kick him quite a bit, speaking of the leg kicks, and it looked like one of them actually made him stumble a little bit shortly before he landed the 1-2 that ended up leading to the one-armed rear naked choke,
Yeah.
which was kind of interesting. We saw him go for the choke, and then he just controlled the arm, and then I feel like Oliveira almost, it looked like he almost tapped before he brought the other arm with the choke, but at any rate,
No,
that
he
was a
did.
good
Yeah,
submission.
he did tap. But he had
Yeah,
his,
to the one arm, right?
and his
Yeah.
arm is so long that he can like grab onto his shoulder.
Yeah, and then he controlled the other arm.
Yeah, and
while
then
they
he
fell
had his other
back,
arm.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
that was
that was
crazy.
sick.
Yeah, shout out to Jamaica, Randy Brown, Brendan Allen. Excuse me, Brendan Allen defeated Carl Roberson by heel hook. I don't have it up. I believe it was in the first round. Another broken knee. That was three. So many people went to the hospital after this event. It's probably the most violent event that I've seen. I don't know, maybe even ever.
Yeah, it was a super violent event, including, just kind of like we said earlier, it started violent, and the preliminary card finished with violence, and then the main card started and finished with violence, and it's awesome that Jorge Masvidal was on it. As much as he advocates for violence, it sucks to see him on really anyone losing in that way, but just a great card overall.
Yeah, that's the sport for you, man. It is very unforgiving. All right, dude, we did it. Anybody you want to give a shout out to this week?
Oh geez, no, I guess
I'll give a shout out to
Yeah.
Chris Weidman for a speedy recovery.
yeah, that's a good one. That's man, that leg kick. I'm gonna keep like you. I only watched it once, but it seems like the one image that's burned in my head the most from the
Yeah.
event, along with like Rose's leg kick and Kamaru's punch. I mean, the
Yeah,
overhand
and by
right to
my
finish.
math, that means Uriah Hall's going to break his leg kicking somebody someday.
Oh
So,
geez, oh no!
I'm
Don't
just
say
kidding.
that.
All right, for everyone else, step your game up. We're out.